Hello everyone, I'm Checkcar, and today we have another Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross for inspection. We're going to do a detailed assessment of this vehicle and compare it to the original specifications. First and foremost, before inspecting any vehicle, it's crucial to locate its vehicle identification plate. In this case, it's still in its original position on the lower end of the B pillar. You can see the production date is November 2018. Let's start by discussing the characteristics of this vehicle, particularly its original paintwork. You'll notice that the front bumper may have a slight color difference between plastic and metal parts, which is normal for factory-painted vehicles. However, it's important to examine the lower part of the bumper, where the mudguard and lower trim are fixed. If the bumper has been removed, you might see signs of disassembly. In this case, the screws haven't been tampered with, and the gaps are uniform, indicating the bumper is original. Moving on to the paintwork, you should look for a smooth and even finish. Pay attention to the edges. They should be straight, without any rough spots. If you notice rough edges or imperfections, it could be a sign of prior repair or repainting. Next, let's talk about the hood. There are no specific areas on this hood that require special attention, but it's essential to check for labels or stickers. Original factory screws should also appear smooth and undisturbed. Look at the screws on this car. Because it has painted screws on any car, there is usually a slight paint connection between the screws. If during the twisting process, this usually causes damage. In addition, you can see that the surface of the screw is even and smooth. Even if there is dust, it will come out very bright after wiping it off. If you go further, check water tank frame. The water tank frame needs to be checked, and it's still the same. Anyone who wants to inspect a car must learn to do structural analysis. First of all, the frame of this car is obvious. It is connected to the reinforcing beam by resistance welding, including the solder joints inside. All the solder joints are still intact. Look at the position in the middle. The middle section is connected by screws, but it is connected to the lower part of the longitudinal beam by resistance welding. We can see that the entire solder joint is very clear. Then this can confirm that the water tank frame has not been disassembled. Because the bumper has not been disassembled, the hood is not removed. If the water tank frame has not been disassembled, major accidents ahead can basically be ruled out. Further down, you can look at the small accessories around it, including its fixing screws. If there are accessories with production dates, you can look at the dates, including a series of labels here. You can see the production date, and we can see the screws here. Look at the original limit marks, including itself. It has not been disassembled, so accidents in the front can be ruled out. The most important thing is to learn to find something. The location of the energy absorbing box in the front. Let's look here from the bottom. You can clearly see the original energy absorbing box in this position. The energy absorbing box of this car has a basic feature. First, at the root of the energy absorbing box, its screws are installed after it is painted. So if you look at the top of the screws on the energy absorbing box, the entire surface is painted. If it is disassembled and assembled, the paint surface will definitely be damaged, even if you replace it. There will also be disassembly and damage on it, which can also confirm that there was an accident and impact in the accident ahead. You also need to take a look at the anti-collision steel beams inside. You can check here to see if the peepholes are deformed and confirm whether there is a minor accident ahead. Look inside. The easiest thing to see is this type of Japanese car, because all connection points, including its solder joints, including the glue on it, including the base, are very clearly visible. We can see that the screws of the entire base are very evenly visible. But there is one point. We can see that the most common problem with the car is that there seems to be a black indentation in the direction of tightening. I put my finger here. You can see the black indentation at this position. This is normal. This is the original factory condition. But the positions of these marking lines are normal, indicating that they have not been removed. When you look at the engine, you can make a comparison reference for the inspection of this piece, including all the series of screws in front. The same reason. You can see that there are indentations in the tightening direction, but there are no indentations in the loosening direction, including all the components in the front. If you want to disassemble and assemble, these components must be disassembled, since there are no traces of disassembly, indicating that there was no accident. Of course, the most important part of the front inspection is the engine. The engine inspection is still the same. If it needs to be overhauled or has been repaired before. If it needs to be repaired, the first machine base must be disassembled or the valve sealing ring must be removed for oil leakage during routine maintenance. You can also look at these details and see if there is any liquid overflow, which can be used as a basic reference. Then here are the engine and gearbox connecting screws, including a series of starters. The lower screws are very clearly visible, including a series of components inside the entire cabin can be used as a reference point to confirm it. Moving to the side of the car, pay close attention to the rocker panels or sills. Look for any signs of rust, damage, or repair. Original factory paint should have a consistent thickness. In the same way, look for signs that the screws have been twisted. When examining the doors, consider that Japanese vehicles often show a pattern of slight pressure marks in the tight direction. This is normal and doesn't necessarily indicate repair. However, if you see these marks only in one direction and not the other, it might be a sign of prior removal and repair. Check the door seals for consistency and uniformity. They should be even from top to bottom without gaps or irregularities. If you notice any discrepancies, it could suggest previous repair work. If you have a paint film meter, you can use a paint film meter to check to see if there is any sheet metal. The approximate value is between 50 and 80 of the original car paint. If possible, you can take out the sealing tape, but for the sealing tape, you usually have to remove it after you find them. Be sure to check the roof of all cars. Be sure to check the entire roof to see if there are any sheet metal repairs or paint repairs. At the same time, any car must pay attention to the entire lower side rail of all cars. During this process, you can climb down to see the position of the entire lower edge. You can see the entire lower edge, but the color of the bottom is the same, and there is no post-painting. There is no NCC. At the same time, let me talk about the characteristics of the door screws of this car. In addition to the fact that ours does not have painted screws, they look very blurry and feel like there are traces of disassembly and assembly. But in fact, you can see that they are all in the tight direction. Then there is the rear of the car. Let's talk about the characteristics of the rear of the car later. The same is true for the entire rear. First of all, the screws have not been removed. In addition to its basic characteristics, you can see that the original car has such a label. You can see the VN code label. If you want to check it, you can look at this label to confirm that it is there. Is it still not there? Or is it consistent with our actual car? Check whether this part has been replaced. Let's briefly talk about the characteristics of its rubber strip. First of all, at the position of the rubber strip, you can see that the rubber strip of the entire car is uniform and regular, from top to top. Next line down, inspection of the spare tire slot has the same idea. If we normally need to check whether it has been cut or not, it is the same method. You look here. First, you can remove the rubber strip to check the solder joints here. Secondly, peel off the carpet to check. Internally, of course, some cars are better repaired. This solder joint can be made more perfect, or the rubber strips can be brushed better. What should I do? Lie down and look from the bottom up. First, if you look at the lower part, we can see the energy-absorbing box of the entire car. Look at the screws of the energy-absorbing box. They are even and smooth, without any traces of disassembly and assembly, including the plane of the rear tail panel. The entire surface is of the same color, and the anti-collision steel beam has no deformation. From this, I can confirm that there is no rear-end collision accident. Finally, don't forget to inspect the chassis and undercarriage. Look for any signs of damage, repair, or rust. This can provide critical information about the vehicle's history. Please like and follow if you find it useful. Okay, this is Check Car. See you next time.